Hi, bold vocalists. It's Carissa here, and you are watching Love Your Larynx, a 14-day series of free education. And we started off kind of in the science realm. There's a few more lessons that are going to have a bit of science in them coming up, but now we're kind of in the spiritual realm. We're moving away from that, and today is my very favorite lesson to teach. And it also comes with an amazing download called 25 Songs in 10 Minutes. So you're going to be able to create 25 song ideas hopefully in 10 minutes, give or take. So it's a huge resource for singers and songwriters. And if you've never tried songwriting before, I encourage you to let this be your entry, your point of entry, because I'm going to make it really easy for you, even if you don't play an instrument. So hang tight. I'm going to get you onto the slides and jump in and start teaching. Boom, ba. Present. All right. Today we're talking about healing the throat chakra through singing. Our throat chakra has to do with our ability to hear, to speak, to sing, to play music, and to learn. It is from the high center that we are able to receive information, knowledge, and wisdom of all kinds and transform it into something entirely new and of our own unique creation. Oh, I love that. I forgot to say who said that. I'm sorry. I got it out of a book called The Chakra Key, which is a really fascinating book if you ever want to check it out. Sorry about that oversight. Anyway, so we're going to get into what chakras are in just a second, but knowing, this preview that the throat chakra, these are really tied into what we do, right? Hearing, singing, playing music, learning. These are all the things we're doing in this very moment, speaking, and we're going to receive knowledge, wisdom, and then we're going to take that and we're going to run it through our own personal filter, and it's going to come out new and unique. And that is what songwriting is, right? So let's move on. Okay, what is a chakra? A chakra. I think it's hard CH. I'm not sure. Somebody tell me if you know if it's chakra or chakra. I kind of go back and forth. Okay, so to be fairly honest, not fairly, entirely honest and transparent, this is a new subject of study for me. So there may be some of you in the audience that actually know a lot more about this than me, and I'd love to hear from you if that's the case. So know that this is a fascinating realm and it goes very deep. There's a ton of information here and it's a lot. So I'm going to give you the very basics that I understand at this point, and I'm going to continue studying. So yeah, reach out if this is something that interests you. I'd love to hear from you and just connect. Okay, so chakras are wheels of energy or vortexes of energy that spin when they're clean and healed and they're properly functioning. They spin, and they are located along the spine from about your tailbone up to your forehead and right above your forehead at the very top. They have upper and lower chakras. The lower three start at the tailbone, right in that pelvic floor area, and that is the root chakra. And then you move up one to the, let me skip forward because I'm going to forget, sacral. Sacral is next, and that is like between the pelvic bone and the belly button. And then you have the solar plexus, which is kind of right beneath your rib cage, right where like the diaphragm is, right? And then you have your heart. We're moving into the upper chakras now. So those lower chakras, root, sacral, and solar plexus, those have to do with our very primal needs and natures. So survival, tribe, love, acceptance, creativity, sex, things that are very primal and very individual live in the lower chakra centers. The upper chakra centers are going to be your heart chakra, which lives not right where your actual heart is, but more in the center of the chest, like in the breastbone area. The throat chakra, which we're going to focus on today, it takes up the throat, the trachea, the esophagus, the thyroid, the mouth, the jaw, the teeth. These are all things, not really the esophagus, that affect our singing, right? So the singing life lives in the throat chakra for the most part. And then above the throat chakra, we've got the it's called the brow chakra, which is also your center of intuition. And then above that is your crown chakra, lives above the head here. So these are very abstract thoughts, correct? Like we are looking at something we can't see, and therefore it is part of what the yogic tradition calls the subtle body, which is not the physical body that we can see and that we can perceive, but the vibrations that we cannot perceive with the human eye that are happening beneath the surface. That is the subtle body. And these chakra centers live in the subtle body, and they basically communicate spiritual energy. What's important to know about that is that the spiritual energy, in order for your physical body energy and health to be thriving, these centers need to be open so that it can convey that spiritual energy and make it into energy for the actual person, the human, the body, for the physical body. Okay, so in this particular throat chakra, the fifth chakra, it is represented by the color blue, and it also has a lot to do with our willpower, confession, communication, head, and heart. So I'm going to go through those quickly. Willpower, it doesn't mean it in the sense of like, oh, I ate that brownie and I really shouldn't have. Although it could mean that if, you know, for example, you have a food addiction, that may be something that, you know, that is actually the willpower we're talking about. But what we're talking about here is more the willpower of your choices every day, of everything that you choose, whether it be a belief, I'm not good enough, I don't matter that much in this world, um, nobody likes me. These are bad beliefs. Or you could have the opposite of those beliefs. I'm the best, everybody loves me, and not in an aligned way, but in an egotistical way. So we can use our willpower to attach ourselves to beliefs. We can also use our willpower to try and control things, right, that aren't really in our control, because that's the nature of life. We like to make choices and feel like we're in control, and we are to a degree, but anyone who has experienced a really sudden loss, or been in a car accident, or I don't know, fire, natural disaster, there's a lot of things that are not in our control. And in this sense, the throat chakra has to do with kind of giving over your will and saying, I don't have control over everything, and what's meant to be is meant to be. Okay, confession. Oh, really? Yes. So this ties in. So confession and willpower tie together in this. I don't mean confession like going to the priest and sitting in the booth, although that also does fall under this category, but it's not limited to that. It is a confession to yourself. Sometimes we do things, and whether it's, you know, moments later or hours later or weeks later, they come back and they kind of register like, I really shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. When you're able to sit and confess that to yourself and out loud, then it's allowed to be worked through, and it's allowed to be transmuted into something not so heavy. So when we use our willpower in a way that we make choices that hurt others or that hurt ourselves, eventually that kind of comes back around, right? So our willpower is used all day, every day in our decision making. Some of those decisions take part of our spirit with them. If you steal something, right, that takes a little piece of you and it attaches itself to that item. If you lie to somebody, there's this interweaving of our choices that gets recorded in the throat chakra. So this gets a little woo-woo, a little out there, but stay with me. So the throat chakra is kind of the record keeper of these things. So when we confess these things, when we own up to them, when we look them straight on in the face, we disempower them in a lot of ways. So right now, if you've got something that's weighing on you, something guilty, something an unfinished business of some sort, something you've never said to somebody, something you wish you would have stood up for yourself somewhere along the way. We all have these like psychic doors blowing in the breeze. Okay, if you can kind of sense that there's something way back here just tugging at your energy, you're tired for some reason, you can't figure out why, or you're a little stressed out and you don't really know why, but then when you really slow down and take a look, there's a lot of unfinished business that kind of floats around the ether of our minds. And this is where confession gets really powerful. because when we acknowledge that those things are taking up energy and we look at them, we can actually reclaim our spirit from them and take action to take back our own power from it. And this also affects our communication. So this means communicating with yourself, with the universe, with others in a way that is positive and not just like, oh, good job, positive, but healthy. This comes in to play in boundaries, in establishing what's right for you, in making amends to people, in just saying it how it is, right? Letting your voice carry the power that it was given to you when you were born. So communicating yourself, your feelings, communicating with yourself to others, with yourself, just for yourself, and with the universe in a way that empowers you. So then we get to the head and the heart. So this is what's fun about the throat chakra. We are located right in the trachea, esophagus, thyroid, mouth, jaw, teeth, throat. So and even back here in the head. So all of this stuff, your articulators, mouth, tongue, teeth, those are all in there. The jaw, oh, we do so much stuff with the jaw when we sing. We have to learn to open it. We have to learn to release it. So if your throat chakra is holding on to lots of stuff, singing is going to be impeded a bit, right? So we want to look at these things and release that stuck energy and get that vortex of energy flowing and spinning so that it can talk to the head and the heart. And so this is another place where songwriting gets really fun and interesting when you look at it through this lens. The throat chakra, which we sing from, is located between the head and the heart, the mind and the heart. How often do your mind and your heart agree? Like a third of the time at best, do you think? I mean, if you're super in alignment and you're super clear, then maybe they agree more often. But I think we are always torn between our minds and our hearts, the logic and the truth we know in the heart. So they don't always agree. And here we are in the middle with our voice that gets stuck between the two. So we're going to explore that a little bit because songwriting talks to both the head and the heart, does it not? It's so fun. Okay, moving on. Life in the key of blue. And I don't actually mean blue like sad. I mean blue like the sky, like actual blue, the vibration of blue. So this quote here on the left is from Alec Jones' Seven Mansions of Color. Each note on the musical scale has a corresponding color, and every color has a corresponding note. Sound and color are the same thing, perceived by different senses. It is a perception of vibration. Okay, right? So cool. Alabama Shakes had it right when they named that song and album Sound and Color. They're the same thing perceived by different senses. So everything in singing and music and mostly life has to do with vibration. And what's really fun about singing is that the vibration in your physical body actually changes the vibration of your spiritual body as well. So we raise our vibration by singing. We raise others' vibrations by singing, right? We kind of bring everybody into this very excited, awakened, buzzy state with music, and I'm sure you've experienced that. So what's interesting, the musical scale that we base the major scale on is also corresponding to the chakra system. So root chakra down in the tailbone, that is red, and it also corresponds with, I believe, middle C, but the note C. I'm pretty sure it's middle C. The sacral chakra is orange, and it corresponds with D. Solar plexus is yellow, corresponds with E. Heart is green, corresponds with F. Throat is blue, that's G. So which is hence our title, Life in the Key of Blue, because we're focusing on the throat chakra, which is represented by the tonal center of G. And then the brow, is indigo, and it's represented by A on the piano or any instrument. And crown chakra is represented by violet and B. And so notice if we kept going, we would just circle back to C again. So there are 7 notes to the major scale before you hit the octave. There are 7 chakra centers in the body and 7 colors in the rainbow prism that we can see with the visible eye. They're all tied together in this really lovely way. And it's all perception. So this gets kind of abstract. I understand that, but I love it for that very reason, because perception is everything. Your reality is created by your perception. So we can use songwriting as a way to explore that and to change your perception and maybe change the perceptions of others. But mostly, we want to become a channel for your own soul. So I have always felt like singing, regardless if it was original music or if I was just singing a song someone else wrote. I've always felt like a channel. I've always been able to kind of tap into something very primal and very almost not of myself when I sing. And it feels amazing. And I almost don't remember it. Like at the end of really, like most performances, I don't really remember any details about it. I am left with a feeling if it was good or bad. I'm left with either anxiety and worry, or I'm left with a kind of exhausted, joyful, buzzy state. And there's not much in between. So we want to kind of create that channel for your soul to flow through using the voice and using songwriting in this particular case. So let's start on this right-hand column over here, resonance, because this is really important to both the scientific end of singing as well as the spiritual end of singing. So with resonance, we create transcendence. And I'm sure we just kind of talked about this, but you've probably been so engrossed in a song or a musician or in your own playing or your own singing that you kind of lose your sense of space-time. And it kind of warps and bends, and all of a sudden time stands still or it flies by, and our perception of time becomes very loose. And a lot of creative people have a very hard time being on time for things, right? Because we're always in this loose, transcendent state of creativity and time space that is very malleable. Not to say that it's okay to be late everywhere, but that is, I have noticed that in people that spend a lot of time in this sort of space. So transcendence occurs when we resonate with a song, okay? When we resonate ourselves, it's a way to tap into divine consciousness or the collective consciousness. There's something about a song and singing it that makes you feel ancient and brand new all at once, right? We've been singing since the dawn of time, potentially before we were even speaking. There was probably humming and melodies and whistling and things. There's music in the world intrinsically. So I will do some research. I don't know. Maybe there was, I don't know if there's even a way to know if there was singing before there was spoken language, but music exists in all the things, right? In birds, in the world, there's musicality everywhere. So when we use our bodies as an instrument toward music, we actually are capable of tapping into that divine or collective consciousness, whatever you like to think of it as. So let's talk about the resonance in the technical sense of the word, which is vibrations. So when we resonate our voice, basically what's happening is, you've maybe noticed if you can feel sound up here in the mask or in the lips. Let's try it together. Can we just do a nice hum? Go, hmm. And I want you to notice where you feel vibrations. You're going to feel it in your throat because your vocal cords are opening and closing at a very rapid rate to make that sound. And maybe on this email, I will attach the WTF is happening when I sing video. So it's about an hour, but if you guys want to go into how these mechanisms work from the science angle, I'll attach it and you guys can watch it. But when you feel that vibration in your lips, let's say, maybe put 2 fingers on your lips. You can feel that light little buzz in the lips and maybe even transferring to your fingers. That is resonance. And what's happening is other pieces of your body are resonating or vibrating at the same frequency that your vocal cord structure, your larynx, has predetermined. So your larynx determines the pitch by thinning or shortening, like stretching longer or shortening and thickening the cords, and also how fast the open and close rate is happening. Those determine pitch, and that vibration will always be here. So if the voice is always coming from the throat, why are we always saying, don't sing from your throat? It's because we'd like you to get into a state where if you can feel the buzzing in the face happening, it's picking up this vibration and it's vibrating at the same frequency in other parts of your body. Sometimes it's the chest cavity, sometimes it's the mouth and the lips, the teeth sometimes feel rattly, sometimes it's in the nasal cavity, sometimes you can perceive it almost behind the eyes or in this third eye center. And in certain notes, you can almost imagine it going up out of the head. Okay, so when we vibrate in a sympathetic way, these vibrations happen on the same level as the throat, then we amplify the sound really safely. It's like that sound wave gets a big boost from these vibrations producing the same qualities. So that is how we safely sing for hours on end and how we sing without damaging our voice. So physical vibrations in the sympathetic nature are what creates that acoustic boost we call resonance. Now, that resonance, if your voice is resonating, it's traveling, and then it's going to hit a listener. The listener is going to perceive it and decide if they like it or not. If you've heard someone that you love singing, they're probably resonating and also resonating with you. Or like sometimes we use that in the context of like a message. Oh, I really resonated with what this speaker said because it spoke to me. So we have two meanings of the word here. One is very literal and physical, that you're resonating a vibration and amplifying a sound. The other is you're creating a resonance between you and another human. You recognize each other on the soul level. You recognize something true about that person and it connects you. And that is what music is all about, my friends. So resonance in your voice physically creates resonance when a listener hears you. They're going to like it because the resonance creates really lovely production of tone. It's like a very lovely sound to hear. If you listen to the greatest singers, they're resonating almost constantly. Like there's very little work happening here other than that little command center. How high are we singing? What are the conditions? So this is setting the condition. This is the resonance. Okay, we're going to go over to this side, transformation. So singing in general creates joy. I talked about it just a little bit in the beginning. It makes you happy. It's like a buzzy, fun, high vibe way to hang out. It's great. So it creates joy when people sing. They have generally a good time. If you're in the car and you're singing along to a song, you're smiling usually, right? And sometimes we also move through pain with music, but in general, singing is going to create joy. Secondly, with the voice and the throat chakra, we create our reality. So we create our reality with our perceptions. Our perceptions become our thoughts, and we invest our willpower into our thoughts. Are we willing to believe that thought, or are we willing not to believe that thought? And that thought becomes something that you say, whether it be in here or out loud. I'll never what do we say to ourselves? It's always hard to come up with these on demand, but they're almost always based in fear and in some sort of unbelonging or unworthiness. No one will listen to this song if I write it. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I'm not a songwriter. No, I don't have anything to say. These sorts of doubts that maybe you're going through if you're thinking about coming into this practice, that's going to be the reality. So if you let those invest your willpower, which is attached to your throat chakra, if you attach your willpower to investing in those beliefs, part of your spirit's getting woven into that, and then you're thinking it, and then eventually you're going to speak it. And what you speak creates your reality, and what you sing really creates your reality. So I believe that singing amplifies the power of speaking things into reality by a lot. Okay, lastly, writing songs about these things that we're kind of talking about is going to create neutrality for them. So there are some things that we work through in songwriting that are very difficult, and that's one of the things that makes it a little bit, people I think a little hesitant to do it sometimes, is it feels really big and sometimes kind of scary. But the more you visit a subject that is uncomfortable for you and you spend time with it and you pour it into these pieces of art that are part of your own expression, they become more neutral over time. It's not that they go away or that they're better or they've never happened. It's that you make some peace with them, and the more time you sit with it and the more time you spend crafting an art out of it rather than letting it just hang back here, it starts to become less traumatic and more neutral every time you do that. So songwriting is so amazing for so many reasons. Okay, the act of confession. I started talking about this a little bit, and this is Caroline Meese. There, who knows? I am not a pronouncer of words. Nope. Okay. So the act of confession reclaims our spirits from the consequences of our choices. As we learn more about our energy natures, we realize how much our spirits remain attached to negative events and thoughts, past and present. Remaining attached to negative events and beliefs is toxic to our minds, spirits, cell tissue, and lives. So essential is confession to the health of our minds, our bodies, and our spirits that we can't stop ourselves from confessing. The need to purge our spirits of guilt-ridden memories is stronger than our need for silence. And right after that, she goes on to say that she met with a prison guard once who said that many of the inmates he met got caught because they had to tell at least one person what they had done. And if it wasn't from a sense of guilt, it was sometimes bragging. Sometimes criminals will kind of brag about what they do, but they can't keep it to themselves, and they have to tell at least one person. And then that's how a lot of people end up in prison, is because they either bragged or they felt the need to purge that somehow. So interesting. This book is amazing, Anatomy of the Spirit. If you're interested in the chakra system, Carolyn Miss, email me, Carolyn, let me know. She's a medical intuitive, which is fascinating. So she can read the energy in people's bodies. It's amazing. So 25 song ideas in 10 minutes. I'm going to bump us up to the meat and the heart of what we're talking about today and try and wrap it up. This is a long one. So I took a quote from Paul Simon. It's very helpful to start with something that's true. If you start with something that's false, you're always covering your tracks. Something simple and true that has a lot of possibilities. It is a nice way to begin. So that's going to bump us over to my handout for today. Let me grab it. We're going to go. There's a lot going on there. One second. All right, we're going to go on into the Google Drive. You guys are just going to have to wait for this because I'm not editing this video. Nope. Ain't nobody got time for that. All right, feel free to fast forward. Here we go. So 25 song ideas in 10 minutes. You're going to notice I have a grid here. There's 5 boxes under 5 categories: time, lie, truth, light, and dark. Okay. So with what we just talked about, I want you to go through and fill these out. And it can be a thought, an idea, a sentence, a lyric, a single word, a feeling. There's no right or wrong here. And why I call it 25 song ideas in 10 minutes is that I'm going to have you set a timer when you do this and go to town. So in context of things we're talking about, kind of letting our spirit be carried away with these open doors in our energy system, these events of the past that kind of carry a piece of you with them, and that does not serve you, right? Because it's blocking something. It's blocking your own growth. I want you to think about those things. Think about 5 times and like be specific about actual time. So like it was a December night in 1972. So time, I want you to think about the events. I want you to think about an actual time and place. So drop us in somewhere. The lie. Okay, so the quote I just gave you kind of contradicts this, but I like using lie in the sense of the songwriting because it is often a clever way in, or like a little bit of the hook of a song. So for example, I'm just fine without you is a lie that tells a truth. And the truth is I'm actually really hurting without you, or my world has completely fallen apart. I think about you all the time. I'll have to come back to that. There's a really good example in there. Anyway, so lie. I want you to go ahead and find some things that are not true, but that would make for an interesting plot twist. Truth, we're going to get into right there. And that's, you know, the truth is I shouldn't have done that. The truth is I wish I judged you. Not I wish I judged you. The truth is I did judge you. The truth is I don't understand what you're going through. The truth is this. I want you to unbury some true things that are attached to these events in your life. Okay, and then light and dark. So light, let's start with dark. Actually, dark's a little easier. I want you to talk about the darkness in some of those actions. For me, just at the beginning of the year, I was really diving into this and realizing, when I looked at this, how much of my energy was tied up in old things that were unresolved. For example, ghosting, or yeah, like just people that I kind of lost touch with and didn't give any explan- explanation, things like that. So that kind of left me with this. There's a paradigm or a paradox of dark and light here. That kind of left me with like, it left other people in the dark. It left part of my soul in a dark place that was just unresolved and undeveloped and shrinking away, right? And then the light side of that is like I gave it attention and I fixed the things. So in these sections you could talk about the darkness it brings to you when you visit these moments and describe that. And then the other one would be like the light at the end of the tunnel. And maybe you don't ever have to actually reach out to those people like I did. I really wanted to close those doors behind me because they were stopping me from growing. But the light side, maybe these are like letters or things you would say to somebody if you could, or like, um, they don't have to be real. That's what's beautiful about songwriting. And that's also what's fun about the lie, because we can say something that's true without exposing ourselves like that. So I want you to not think too hard about this. I gave you a lot to think about, but this, I want you to set a timer and I want you to fly through it and go, go, go and get as far as you can. And if you don't finish, just do it again. Set another timer and keep going. But I would love to see you guys get as many as you can in 10 minutes, because sometimes when you overthink this stuff, it gets too hard. I want you to just be like, time, winter, da 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 da, right? Truth, I don't feel good enough. All these things, whatever it is for you. Apparently, I don't feel good enough. I use that example a lot. These days, I'm feeling really good, and I hope you are too. So I'm going to leave you with that. And if you need support in this, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to help you out with it, because this is one of my favorite things to teach. And I hope you can find a little bit of clarity and maybe some peace and some closure to some things that are psychically floating in the breeze. Have an awesome day. Bye.